Hilary Akuru delivered by cesarean section a few days ago at Mulago National Referral Hospital. She was a victim of postpartum bleeding.
We noticed that she started to bleed a lot and her uterus was not contracting well, even after giving her drugs that we use in pregnant mothers to make sure that the uterus contract.
Luckily, this first-time mother was under the watchful eye of trained medics who immediately realized her complication and rushed her to the high dependence unit for close monitoring.
We've been able to give her, transfuse her, we've given her some fluids, we've given her IV antibiotics. She's been able to move out of bed and walk, breastfeed her baby, sit up. She's greatly improved.
According to the Uganda Demographics Health Survey 2011, 42% of all mothers do not deliver under health facilities. Many of them, according to the survey, deliver under traditional birth attendants or even by themselves at home, where access to drugs that could help them avoid postpartum bleeding is actually hard.
25% of all the maternal deaths are due to postpartum hemorrhage. So if you take like on average of 6,000 women who die per year, you have like 1,500 of them as a result of postpartum hemorrhage.
Dr. Sam Ononge from the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at the Makerere University College of Sciences recently carried out a research on management of afterbirth bleeding in rural Uganda. This research sampled over 2,400 women in PG district to find out what they knew about postpartum hemorrhage. While a majority of the women exhibited vast knowledge of this complication, many of them could not explain at what point the bleeding became excessive and dangerous to the mother's life.
Others said when the woman collapses, I know the bleeding has been much, which is actually a late sign. By the time you collapse, you have lost more than 1.5 liters of blood. And for us, our definition of excessive bleeding is if you lose more than 500 mils.
In this study, Dr. Ononge notes that a primordial myth about afterbirth bleeding has increased the number of those who died due to postpartum bleeding.
If they notice that the woman is not bleeding a lot, they compress the abdomen so that they want the blood to come. They want the blood to come. And when we inquired, why do you want the blood to come? He said, if some blood stayed inside the uterus, then you're likely to end up with a problem. And they thought that blood which comes after childbirth is for cleansing purposes, it's cleaning the body.
It is a widespread practice among many women to tie their bellies to compress the uterus and hence expel blood out after birth. Dr. Ononge discourages this method of stopping bleeding.
Because the moment you start compressing and tying the tummy, you're likely to get bleed. And you are going to bleed basically a lot.
The study also found out that 1 in every 3 women was anemic during pregnancy, a state that increases their chances of death in case they excessively bleed after birth.
They started taking tablets late, iron tablets. A majority of them had not actually taken tablets, about a third of them, almost nearing the time of delivery. And those ones who had suffered from malaria, and those ones who also had HIV infection, had also low blood.
Dr. Ononge, however, warns that whether one delivers at a health facility, under a traditional birth attendant, or at home, all women are at risk of postpartum bleeding and should therefore act to prevent the complication.
If you compare the person who is delivering at home and in a facility, the risk is very high because there is no uterotonic, or there is no drug which helps the uterus basically to contract.
In Uganda, the 3 commonly used drugs are oxytocin, higometrin, and misoprostol. While the first 2 are injectable, misoprostol can be self-administered. Dr. Ononge, who carried out the study under his PhD program supported by Thrive Consortium, wants the Ministry of Health to consider availing the misoprostol drug to expectant mothers to help them prevent excessive bleeding even when they do not necessarily deliver from the health centers.
Giving of the tablets to the women to carry increased the number of women who accessed the drug to stop the bleeding. Because from the 911 women whom we gave the tablets, 35% of them took misoprostol. those ones who delivered at home, and those ones who even came to the facility. Either the time when they were delivering, either there was no syringe or there was no oxytocin, and they had their tablets, they were able basically to administer it.
Currently, misoprostol is only given to mothers at health centers and can only be acquired on prescription. This means that the mothers who do not deliver from such facilities cannot access it. Dr. Ononge thinks that this drug should be given to every woman who turns up for antenatal.
95% of the women attend antenatal at least once. At least once. So this could be a window to reach those ones who might come once and end up going back and basically delivering at the health facility.
Apart from treating postpartum bleeding, the misoprostol drug can be used during labor and to induce an abortion. There are concerns that the same drug could be abused.
The concern that can this drug be misused or used for other purposes. We were able to track 85% of the medicine, and it was not used for either taken before the birth of the baby or used for any other use outside the prevention of excessive bleeding.
The commonest causes of postpartum bleeding are inability of the uterus to contract after childbirth, tears along the birth canal during delivery, a retained placenta, and inability of blood to clot, among others. Gertrude Tumusime with Kware, NTV.